Retro anime. How did we find it? How does it hold up? Unpacking the ins and outs of being an old school nerd and proving that 80s kids can't remember a damn thing right. These are the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd.
Welcome to Mindless Midlife Musings of the Anime Nerd. I'm Rick, and I'm joined by the rest of our panel, Vic, Brian, and Lynette. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And in this episode, Cyberpunk comes to Tokyo. Bubblegum Crisis gives fans everything that made old anime great. Action, music, robots, mecha, motorcycles, gratuitous nudity, and power armor.
Is it gratuitous?
It's definitely gratuitous.
It's more like gratuitous, maybe. I don't know about gratuitous. I'll give you gratuitous.
Fair point. Bubblegum Crisis is a 1987 to 1991 cyberpunk original video animation series produced by Umex and animated by AIC and Artmic. The series was planned to run for 13 episodes, but was cut short to just 8. And in North America, Animego first released Bubblegum Crisis to VHS and Laserdisc in 1991 in Japanese with English subtitles, which was a rarity. The series is notable in that it was one of the few early anime series that were brought over from Japan unedited and subtitled in English. So, here we are. I guess we start with how we got it, right? I'll go first because I actually had this conversation recently, and it was late 1992. We had just suffered an enormous hurricane, been displaced by it. People were living everywhere. I had just moved back to Homestead from temporarily living in Miami Springs. And that's when I first met you, Vic. It was right around that time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then Diego, who I'd also met, he was the one that introduced me to Bubblegum Crisis. And which was very common for us in the early 90s and late 80s, was that when you started an anime, you didn't always necessarily get to start from the beginning. And we discussed this a little bit with Golden Boy, but with Bubblegum Crisis, this was another one. And I actually started Bubblegum Crisis with episode 3, Blow Up. So that was the first episode I'd ever seen. And then I can't even remember after that the sequence of episodes I saw, because it just kind of like however we were able to piecemeal it in, that's how we ended up watching the show. So yeah, that was my first run. Vic, was yours the same?
Same from Diego. I think mine happened maybe a little bit before yours. But beyond that, yeah, I think it was also episode 3 as well. First.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Bonometti,
Yep.
the skinny butterball.
Oh, Diego was always getting us into trouble with good anime.
Thank you.
Yes, the Wallace always hated him.
Yeah. And Lynette, had you ever seen Bubblegum Crisis before we
No,
started
this is
taping?
my first time.
All right.
Doing a lot of
yes.
firsts here, so
I know. They're just getting you into all this old stuff. That's good though. I appreciate that.
I feel like we just gave Lynette like the American music class, the AMC of anime.
The Criterion Collection, as dictated by us.
Like we could possibly like take over the AMC logo, but instead of American music, anime movie classics. I mean,
There you go. Anime movie classics. Yes.
Pretty sure we can afford the lawsuit.
Yeah, I'd
Fair
say
enter
no. I don't think
the
I
inner will provide for us.
That's right. He'll start a GoFundMe. Get us out of legal trouble.
That we know that we're going to get into.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So this is a really fun anime, and I think one of the most interesting things about this anime is that it's like you guys remember the Dream Team, right? Basketball, right? The Dream Team was a big thing. We sent like Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan to the Olympics, and it was like a big deal.
In like
Everybody was into it.
1992?
Yeah, you know.
No,
No, you don't remember that at all? No.
at all.
What were the 90s?
This anime is kind of like that, in that what it did was bring a lot of really now infamous anime artists to make this series. So you got a lot of heavy hitters, especially in the mecha genre. Shinji Aramaki was involved in this the entire time, and he was notable for Mospita, and he did some Appleseed stuff, and just tons of work from this guy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Man, I love it when you start saying these things. They're like, oh my gosh, Appleseed. I'm not even talking about Johnny. I'm talking about the
Yeah,
good
right?
one.
And another note, he's actually done a lot of the recent CG animated stuff, like the recent Blade Runner.
Which is apropos, because if Bubblegum Crisis is anything, it is
It's
a
Blade
love
Runner.
letter to Blade Runner.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
Is it a love letter
Oh.
or maybe we shouldn't? I mean, is it a cautionary tale?
It is a love letter with little heart stamps and chocolates on the side.
Absolutely. Yeah, they sent over a whole box of chocolates to this. I mean, it's I to say it's Blade Runner meets Streets of Fire. That's what this is. Like, so I mean, come on. It's Pris, character from Blade Runner, and her band is The Replicants.
Blade Runner.
Right? The boomers are clearly replicants. Like, that's like the whole shtick. I mean, this thing is Blade Runner's, the DNA is all over this thing.
So hold on.
Yeah.
Pris, who fights replicants, named her band
The Replicants?
Mhm.
Well, to be fair, they do call them boomers in this one, because, you know.
Yeah, they go boom.
Like, seriously? With it for the longest time, when people would say, okay, boomer,
Yeah.
I used to like secretly think back to this and be like, okay,
Do you know what
boomer.
you're saying?
Yes. Every time somebody busts out an okay boomer, I'm like, Knight Saber Sanjo! Get her!
I can finally tell somebody about why I was secretly laughing when they came up with okay boomer.
Need to find a little boomer sticker that says "Okay, Boomer" right above it.
Yeah, there you go. I'm gonna make that and put it on the store. Kenichi Sanada, he did the character designs for this. He's infamous for things like Gunsmith Cats and Writing Bean. He's known for just like really intricate detail work when it comes to like weaponry and automobiles, things like that. And you can tell that a lot of his hard work is in Bubblegum Crisis, because if there's one thing they spend plenty of time on, it is world building with their vehicles and the armor and all the stuff about this. It is a very fully realized world, and their version of Mega Tokyo, not unlike Akira's Mega Tokyo, is a fully fleshed out character. Like, it's just they did the homework on this one.
Oh, for sure.
Homework, yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna start this differently than what I normally do.
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and say there are certain things about it that I thought I was really, really excited about. The first one is so we have Pris.
Yep.
We have Celia Stingray. We have Nene, and then we have Lena. Right?
Nene and Lena. Yep.
We have Ingrid. We have Leon. We have the Chief. We have Lisa.
Yeah.
They do such a wonderful job making Mega Tokyo seem like Mega Earth.
Yeah. No, they really do. I agree. Yeah.
You know, and like, even to the point where the only way I knew we were in Texas on one episode is that they showed a gas station.
Right.
Really? Mine was the Galveston.
Yes, the English on the sign when they were
With the
driving into town.
Yeah. But I really like that version of Mega Tokyo.
I'll say this though, it's a hole. Mega Tokyo's a
Hold on. It's a lot better than Akira.
Yeah.
Yes, there was no World War or giant, meat demon.
The only episode that Mega Tokyo doesn't look like an absolute hole is episode 8, Scoop Chase, right? Because in that, it's like a shining, shimmering city of hope and possibilities and all this. And I'm like, this is a very different Tokyo than I literally just saw in the episode previous.
Did they change the anime? That was what I just noticed when I was watching 8, and I was like, the anime style changed? Because they've done that in certain animes where it's like, you watch Naruto Shippuden and the Pain versus Naruto episode, totally different artistry. from the
They
other
did.
stuff.
They did do that, and it was by design. So I don't know if there's a backstory to it or not, as I didn't dig too deep into it. But they bring in character artists and animators as guests. So Masami Obari, infamous mecha designer, he did Tekka Man Blade, he did all the Fatal Fury movies. Like he's just tons of stuff. He was brought in to direct a few episodes and do design work for a few episodes. Specifically, it was like Red Eyes and Moonlight Rambler, the whole Sexeroid bit. And then they brought in my man, Satoshi Urashihara, for episode 7, Double Vision. So, all the characters in that are animated kind of in his style. And then actually the character creator, Kenichi Sanada, he came back to do episode 8. But by then, his style had evolved.
Right.
It's just, everything, the latter half of this whole series, the animation just through the roof. Just quality went way up.
Mhm.
It's like the caffeine finally kicked in.
Right, exactly, yes. So yeah, it's really great. I love when series can do this, but still feel unified, because it can be disjointing to see a drastic change in character designs. Case in point, like Megazone 2-3. We ever get to that one, your mind's gonna get blown because the characters look completely different in the second iteration versus the first. In this one, at the very least, the character designs are consistent. It's just the animation has their own personal touches on it, and everything just feels more elevated the further the series goes on, including Mega Tokyo, which, like I said, got a hell of a facelift for the last episode.
I would say that if anything, Bubblegum Crisis, and I'm saying this as a compliment, right? Bubblegum Crisis gave me the closest feel to G.I. Joe that I have ever had in anime. So G.I. Joe had this thing what they would do is that you will start off with the intro, and the intro would introduce some type of mulligan or some type of MacGuffin, right? And then that MacGuffin would somehow play in through. It would just manifest itself to, oh my gosh, I need this, or you need this, or one of the main characters going to get some type of growth from interacting with this MacGuffin. You know, it was It was to the point where when you're watching Bubblegum Crisis, you could tell exactly what's going to happen. Oh, she's a boomer. Nobody said anything. She's a boomer.
Yeah.
How do you say I'm a boomer without saying I'm a
You're
boomer?
Like, especially in and that's especially like episode 2, where it feels like suddenly Brian J. Mason has 3 bodyguards that are hot women. You're like, oh, they're all boomers, right? Every one of these women is a boomer. Just no.
Which brings me to my first quip or issue I have, and that's once again you start the series not knowing why the boomers are so bad.
I think because this series, they knew they were in for a run. Like, they felt like they were going to be able to explain a lot of this as the show went on, versus feeling like they had to establish this because they weren't sure if they were going to keep going. It certainly feels like they had at least a clear-cut vision of where they wanted to go with the story. I don't know, sometimes it's okay to get dropped into a world and have to figure shit out.
I like that part about it.
Yeah.
I like getting stuck in the middle, because then you're just trying to figure out what's happening, and then you see how the boomers evolve, right, to the hyper boomer. I think that's what they called him, right?
Right.
I do have to have a chick moment, and I'm gonna call in my chick card here. Pris's hard suit shoes, totally unrealistic. That's what I say. I have to call in the chick card right now. I'm gonna go full chick mode and say there's no way she can run in ballerina shoes. Way.
Isn't everybody's hard suit like in 8-inch stilettos? I think that's everybody's hard suit.
No, the older one, I think Lina and Aya?
Lena and Nene.
Celia.
And Nene's has a little higher, but the other two, the older one, hers are flat.
Celia wears flats because she's all business.
Flats.
That's why.
And then the one with the whippy hair, hers are just like little kitten heels.
Oh man.
But
Love how
point. See, that's why I said I have to pull out my chick card
No,
right now.
that's good. No, that's perfect.
No.
I was watching a battle and I was like, "There's no way she can do like that high kick."
No, believe it or not, Vic was about to say the same thing because he used to walk around in high heels. He was about to say the same thing. So I don't think you're alone by yourself. Vic loves the Rock and
I
Horror
must
Picture
have
Show.
amnesia because I don't remember that one bit.
Huh?
And just to get into that, man, I love the heart suits in this. It's like Iron Man on steroids. These things are great, and I love how unique each set of armor is. Lena's with the cutting ribbons in the back, and Nene with all the hardware.
I like how you didn't see the ribbons cut until actually the latter half.
Yeah, like she was like, and she's slicing it up, and just everybody's weapons are kind of personalized. Like Celia's got the blade that comes out the arm, and just, I mean, really well thought out. And actually, if you, not necessarily going to delve into it, but in Crash, the 3-episode sequel to this, they actually show kind of like the inner workings of the suit. Like they kind of show how the suit tenses up around their bodies to protect them and stuff. Like, this is really cool, man. They really, I love the mechanical design of anime.
Put the effort for that, for sure.
So Bubblegum Crisis came out right during a great time for like the whole mecha genre.
Yeah,
it came out and exploded around there. You have Bubblegum Crisis, which is more on Earth, nothing alien about it. This is the way it is, as opposed to like your Robotech, as opposed to your Voltron, as opposed to. But they made it so personal. The whole mecha genre is so personal in there.
yeah.
It put it down on it's the everyman's person. Like, I'm talking about the little guy. Who's looking out for the little man?
Well, these guys, like, I love that about the stories in these, is that each episode is their own little self-contained story with bits and seeds of an overarching plot. Like the whole second episode with Irene and Lena, and like Lena's like looking out for her fellow dancer. Aerobics, and then it goes sideways, and Lena wants to get vengeance, but she's like sticking to the code that they never really outline that the Knight Sabers have to follow. It's like no individual operations. We got to go as a team, kind of thing. I love all that.
Okay, I do have one minor gripe, actually, that sequence with Irene dying.
Yeah.
The boomer drops her off the bridge. She's dead. Everyone's all upset and everything. And the very next scene, they're walking up, getting ready to suit up, and everyone's smiling. Everyone's happy. The music is upbeat.
Right? I agree. Yes. It was a little off-putting.
And then the end credits, it goes to a cemetery, Irene's grave, and the music is super upbeat.
It's a very upbeat song. Yes, they are pretty happy about Irene being dead.
Yo, I made notes about that. I'm gonna say it right now. The Knight Sabers, they suck. In terms of saving people,
yeah, they don't have a good record now.
No, they're 3 for 8.
Right. The numbers were slightly skewed because if they didn't get rid of the boomers, how many more people would have died?
Right,
they're 3 for 8 for important people.
Like, seriously.
They're less about saving people versus stopping the threat.
All right, who was the first one to die in part 1? The little Cynthia girl.
Okay, but she was a boomer.
She was a boomer.
But they were supposed to be paid to protect her.
Well, orbital beam cannons kind of do things like that.
Yeah, when you connect your semi-sentient robot child to an orbital beam satellite system, it's not going to go well.
Right.
Yeah.
So then
it's an orbital particle beam cannon.
You have Ingrid, she dies. 3, you have the little kid, his mom dies. He gets dropped off at an orphanage.
I have to combat that. His mom died from stupidity.
Word.
She saw them breaking down a building, and she went in for what, 300 yen? That's not gonna. I'm sorry.
She went in for McDonald's money.
That was like $4 American. That's a lot of money back then.
So I can't really blame that on the Knights. That's actually stupidity. And if she was dumb enough to go in there, then that's really not their fault.
Hold on. But Pris let you know exactly Like, she lets you know, hey, you don't see the kid afterwards. They suit up, get revenge. And
Yeah.
then Pris drops the kid off.
Yep.
Cheery music in the back. Turns
Drops
She's
his
around.
running
ass off.
away.
Yep.
As she's running away.
You know what? They were probably like, we commissioned the music to be made. We've got to use it.
And I feel like like definitely when they're wrapping up that story plot, they're like, somebody probably threw that shit in at the end. They're like, oh man, this episode is great. And then somebody in the back, sumimasen, what happened to the boy? And he was like, oh, the boy. We need to figure out something to do with this kid.
I do have to give props to Leon too. It takes a strong man to have a very fruity parfait in front of him while the girl is eating a steak.
Hey, I'm
Got
sorry.
another steak for himself.
Look. They let you know from the get go. I think Leon and what was his partner's name? Daly.
Yeah, Daily. There you go.
20 cents to the truck.
Daly. I think Daly had a crush on Leon.
Oh, Daly had a hardcore crush on Leon, and he was very upfront about it the entire time. Which, hey, again, 1992, and we got gay characters in our cartoons. Like, man, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Representation, like a mother.
Like he
It's
said
great.
something that he says. It was one thing he says. You keep on finding love. They should go to sleep together. I'm like, whoa.
Yes, and then Leon goes, I think there's a car outside, and then they left, and everybody is.
Then everyone in the
giggling.
station is just cracking up.
Yeah, they're just laughing it up, like, oh, whatever. But hey, they're not saying they didn't get down. It could have happened. I mean, yes, Leon is pining after Pris hard, but that don't mean he doesn't bat for both teams.
Hold on. Look, I got Leon sucks as a detective.
He's always terrible. He's a terrible cop. But he is a cliche of every 80s cop, right? That's his whole role in this, down to the bickering with the chief. Like, every episode, he's fighting with the
Carl
chief about
Winslow?
something. Yes, Carl, yeah, 100%. And he's at him, and I'm like, every time they're on screen together, I'm like, this is another 80s buddy cop shtick where the captain's just chewing his ass out. And when he finally does something, he like throws a cup at him, I'm like, there you go. That's exactly what this is. I'm invested in it. I'm fine with it. He's a terrible cop, though. Absolutely. Should have been suspended ages ago.
So they do. All right. So Leon, and this is what I mean by it's the closest thing to G.I. Joe. Because G.I. Joe, when we're watching it as kids, we're like, oh my gosh, it's awesome. But then you listen to the Macguffin, and when I'm using the term Macguffin, I'm saying something is placed here just for no other purpose, just to move the plot along.
Sure.
That's my definition of a Macguffin.
Absolutely, I get you.
So they are doing that so much in there. Pris takes him out to gets him to take her out. She's eating the steak parfait over there, and a singer is asking him about an explosion.
Yeah.
And he's like,
he's not sus at all. He's just like, all right,
that's us.
Tell you exactly what's happening. Why not? I divulge secrets of open investigations, of course. So
It was a closed investigation when she asked.
Fair point. Nevertheless, he should have been suspicious. Like, why is it that you're always around when there's some boomer shit going down? And how come that you're asking about? But I mean, that's cartoon logic, right? Look, we know fully well as adults that you're going to come in and analyze this. We're going to find a lot of holes, right? There's going to be a lot of lumps in this batter. For example, this episode 5, probably one of my favorite episodes and also one of my most hated episodes, Moonlight Rambler, right? So you got Sylvie and Anri and her other sex dolls are escaping from a space station, because that's where you keep your sex dolls, I guess. And then they escape the space station, but now because one of them's injured, now they're vampire sex dolls. So now they need human blood to fix the broken None of this shit makes sense.
Okay, I wasn't the only one who was lost.
It is an asinine plot point. It's the MacGuffin. How do we get Sylvie to kill people? Well, she needs blood because she's a vampire sex doll. Like, it don't make no damn sense. But I still love this episode because it's a gorgeous episode, and the character interactions between Sylvie
so I know
and
exactly
Pris.
what part you fell in love with. when they're sitting there in the panties and the shirt and with the camisole.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I needed.
Yeah, that's all.
Could have been 8 episodes straight of just that, and I'd have been no. It's just it's great character interactions and the DD mecha. That this whole episode was directed by Masami Abari, by the way, and I'm gonna go on a small tangent here in a sec. Is that
hold it, hold the tangent.
Yeah, I gotta hold it in. It's a beautiful episode, and the action is really great, and the DD mecha beating the shit out of Leon, like all that shit is so cool. But boy, this was tied together with just the thinnest bit of string they could find. And honestly, I kind of blame Obari on this. And this is a problem with anime. And this is a very big problem with older anime. Older anime is oftentimes what happens is they find an extremely talented artist, somebody like Masami Obari, brilliant artist. I bow to his power. And then they just say, you know what? You're so talented at drawing. Why don't you write, direct, and storyboard a series? Go. You're like, whoa, hold up. He's a talented artist. That does not mean he is a talented storyteller. Those are two vastly different things. I can draw like nobody's business, but you ask me to write, we are going to have a bad time. Because I am not equipped for this.
But look, it's the same way with Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid, Hideo Kojima. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope I said that right.
Who cares?
Vic, do what you need to do.
Right.
Kojima-san is gonna hunt you down and turn you into a scarf.
He's gonna hide in a box.
All right. All right, Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm going with.
All right,
Vic,
let's go with
I will do a bet with you. If I'm wrong, I will watch Akira this week.
Oh, well, we'll put it into corrections if you were.
If I'm wrong, I'll watch Akira this week.
All right, but finish your point.
So Hideo Kojima, he was a game designer.
He is a game designer.
He is a game designer. And then they gave him complete run of the Metal Gear series.
Yeah.
He designed it. So there's something that goes to that. If you're really good at this, there's a thought process that let's see what you do. And it gives you the whole, this is the definitive vision of what this is supposed to be.
Kojima is the outlier on that. Not every designer is always going to end up as, given a shot and make, gold.
There are very few instances where I have followed an artist or a storyteller or something and they give full control over something and I end up thoroughly enjoying it. It is rare. Masami Abari is not an exception to this. I love his artwork, but every time they put him in front of a story, even at the age I was watching these originally, back in the early 90s, am dissecting it going, this doesn't make any damn sense. And that holds true to the Fatal Fury series. It holds true to that episode. It just, everything the guy does. Even the Tekka Man Blade series. I love the Tekka Man Blade series, but man, when you really watch it, you start going, why is that a thing? And that's just because and again, respect. The guy is so good at what he does. He wants to create a moment. So it's like he's so focused on making a visual moment that he doesn't spend enough time getting you to that moment.
Yeah, the buildup just isn't there.
Right. So that episode, it's my favorite and I hate it all at the same time for these reasons.
Well, I did hear a new word. Was it sexoroid?
Sexoroid, yeah. It's sexoroid.
It's not a boomer.
No, that's a sexoroid. This is better than a boomer. You can this one. It's a sexoroid.
Right. No, but who was a sexoroid? I know.
That's what I want to know. They had an army of beautiful sexoroids up in a space station.
Was just populated by boomers.
No, they were filled with big DDs.
Right. It is.
I love that.
And it's and look, I I'm not gonna hate on this series, but I will call out its flaws, just like everything else. And that episode is probably the weakest one as far as storyline goes, and it's so important. It's an important
How can you be
storyline.
weak with double D's?
Yeah, man. They make you tired. I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say.
Look. They said DDs. I was like, come on, just say double D's one time.
No, they're not gonna do that to you. No, go away. No, this is. So then, yeah. So that episode is so weak, but it's such an important setup because it gets you into the next episode, Red Eyes, with Largo, and that whole arc.
And it shows it's a lead into Prissa's growth too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't she like Iron Man to it and go into like the new suit?
That shit was dope. I'm not gonna lie. That was so cool when she did that.
I'm not gonna lie. I just want to point out they showed her areola on that part.
Like she was running to the thing?
No. When she gets into it and she throws off her old suit and she's sitting there, and right before you go over there, I rewound it 4 times to make sure.
They
and that's why I said it's not gratuitous; it's gratuitous.
Admittedly, I think Pris is the only character they do it with. But yeah, every episode, it's like, hang on, we're gonna go save the city. Let me get dressed, and we cut. That's why it's gratuitous.
You're the only one who's naked in her suits, right? I mean, because even Nene has.
They're all wearing, right? Like they're showing them get their undersuit thing on. There's.
Yeah, but is Pris the only one who's like naked in the undersuit? Because wasn't Nene in like her gutchies?
No, I don't think so. I think they're all wearing.
They all go.
I think they all have those leotards on. That's what I'm calling them.
Leotard. Okay.
Or mechatard.
Mechatards.
No. What happened?
That doesn't work, Brian.
Let's not combine any word with tard. Let's just not do that.
Doesn't work, Brian.
Leo Mech.
The internet's gonna hate
Leo
you.
Mech. I like mechatard better. I like it better.
Oh, Brian.
The whole series. I mean, arguably, right? Pris is the main character, right? She's like the first character they show. She's the character you follow through the whole series. But I love when they spend time with other characters.
Yes.
I liked that they spent a whole episode with Nene and like the whole thing. I hated that it was the last episode.
Right.
Like that episode needed to be somewhere else.
And that's what I think that there is such it's such a hard stop.
Right.
It doesn't feel like this was supposed to be ending at this.
Yeah, and it wasn't, right? As I said in the intro, it was intended to be like a 13 episode series, and then they cut it short. And there's some kind of legal trouble about that, and there's like a lawsuit and a bunch of shit that happened and went down. But so they ended up cutting it short. And then apparently at some point, Pris's Seiyu was going to leave because her contract was up, and they're like, nope, we figured it out. So anyway, they ended up cutting the series short. But one of the studios, not with help from the other one, did Crash to kind of finish off the story. And for the most part, they succeeded in wrapping it up and better than Scoop Chase did. So if you do watch Bubblegum Crisis, it's worth getting through the last 3 episodes, getting through Crash, just to get some semblance of closure to the overall story.
I think Bubblegum Crisis is one of the first shows that shows you that, like the whole bubblegum, like the whole bleach, the whole naming it after something that
makes no goddamn sense. Yeah,
I was like Bubblegum Crisis is who is coming after Bubblicious. Who's doing this?
Like, who stole the bubblegum?
I mean, in 1992, that's the first anime. When Diego brought that shit out, I'm like, this show's called Bubblegum Crisis. What the f*** am I about to watch? And he's like, no, dude, I'm telling you, this is really good. I'm like, it's called Bubblegum Crisis.
But it's not the first, because there's one is more of a hentai. It's more of a like lemon cherry or something like that.
Okay, it's not the first. It was my first. There have been other. Right. There's like Cream Lemon, the Cream Lemon series. Yeah. Cream Lemon series is an H series, a bunch of mini stories. It's great. It's from the early '80s, but it's not a. But I didn't see that until much later in life. So yeah, Bubblegum Crisis was my first whack name that I was like, well, I don't know what the f*** I'm about to watch.
I think it was named after the guy with the vest that had Bubblegum Crisis on the back of it. There was a scene.
And that brings up an excellent thing I wanted to say. One of the things I love about this series is how many Easter eggs there are in this series. They give you so much. Every time there is text on screen, you need to pause because there's an Easter egg. Like every time. If it's not songs by Madonna, it's characters from Top Gun.
Meg Ryan.
Yeah, or cast from Top Gun. Or there's one where it's all Marvel Comics artists. Like it's every single time there's text on screen. It's worth stopping to read it because there's gonna be something in there for you. In the very first episode, when they're panning through Mega City, the Thundercats are on a billboard.
Oh,
Like,
I missed that. I'm gonna have to go watch it.
Panthro was on a billboard as they're panning. He's off to the right of the screen. I was like, oh my god, it's a Thundercat! Like so many Easter eggs in this series. It's by far the best when it comes to that. I don't think
we need to find Bubblegum Crisis Easter eggs and see if there's a website about it. If not, I know what Vic is going to do.
Right now.
Like presented to you by Greek Grotto.
It's good shit. There's so many great, just little things like that, and all over the series, start to finish.
So when we're talking about, there is such a all right. For instance, we recently came upon the anniversary, or not the anniversary, or the time when Back to the Future, where in part 2, where he goes into the future.
Sure.
That that milestone has already came.
Right. We've reached parity with the series as far as timelines go.
Right. So there is a certain I want to say there's a sensation that I'm having when I'm watching something that's supposed to be in 2033, and then you see.
Brian, keep your sentences to yourself, please.
I'll keep my sentences. So there are certain anomalies that stand out. Like, for instance, mecha guns, whole battle suits, whole boomers, and Leon is using a revolver.
Yep.
Or
and handsets on their phones.
Handsets on their video phones.
Yeah, handsets on their video phone. I can see you, but without this headset, I can't hear what the hell you're saying.
My favorite one was the dot matrix printer.
Yeah, they still had a dot matrix printer.
I was like,
that's a lot of the Blade Runner type reference, how people at the time reference the future.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like they reference it as a lot of the same, but better.
Yeah, elevated technology.
I was looking at it, they probably still have Windows ME in there. And this.
Windows ME came after.
Didn't they show also like a true dial-up modem where she had to enter in a phone number and connect to the computer?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I think that's a little dated, but that's cool.
Sure.
I think it's one of those things. Like I love it. It's hilarious, but I forgive it all at the same time because I know every time they did like they did with Akira, it was because of some cataclysm, right? So like technology evolution halts. And they just kind of like advance on what they already have, right? Because so like Mega Tokyo went down in like 2015 or something. It was some kind of earthquake or something, and like the city, and it took through 2033 or 32 when the series starts.
Yep.
So it's like 2015. I mean, admittedly, cell phones would still exist, but hey,
the payphone,
the payphone booths, man. And funny, like in one of the episodes, Pris is like walking up to a phone booth, and it's the same phone booth that she was getting her ass kicked in from like one of the other episodes. So smashed his shit, and she's like, I gotta use the phone. So at least there's continuity.
Like the whole, she's over there dancing in the club and trying to interview the guy. Have you seen this girl? Have you seen?
In the Hurricane Live music video bits that they made, there's a sequence in the first one where they show how Celia Stingray like finds all the girls. So they show how Pris like lost somebody and it was like on a vengeance kick, and like how Celia like finds her and like saves her. They show how like Nene is like trying to be an elite hacker, and she manages to hack into a system that Celia set up as a test to like recruit people, and so she like picks her up, and it's telling to these characters like none of them are specialists. She all just plucked them out based on talent or a feeling or something. So if anything, this is Celia's fault, for picking people with 0 detective skills. It's-
Look, how did everybody know her name?
Mm. Right?
Like,
for
at
a
the
woman
end
in
of,
an anonymous hard suit, everybody seemed to know it was Celia Stingray.
yeah, like it was not an episode of Bubblegum Crisis, and at the end of it, nobody said Celia Stingray.
It's the Batman syndrome, right? Like everybody knows who the hell Batman is. Like the cowl is just pointless. Honestly, her armor is pointless. I feel like they wanted to tell you more about her. Like there's more there, right? They did this whole thing over the whole series where there's this like hidden storyline that they were waiting to unveil about her, and they never got to it because everybody was just kind of obsessed with her. And it wasn't just Brian Mason, and it wasn't
He was in love.
he was something.
I don't know if you guys know this, but episode 7,
Yeah.
one of the days is my birthday.
What in Double Vision?
Yeah, June 13th.
Nice.
I was watching, I was like, okay, June 9th, June 10th, let's get it.
Well, now you know what to look forward to in the news on your birthday in 2033.
I don't know if I want to look forward to any of this. Because, again, 3 for 8.
Yeah.
No.
Now, it's that, since we went there, that episode, I love that episode. Double Vision, I love it because it's not a Pris story. So again, I like when they spend time with the other characters, but I like that it's a hard callback to episode 2. And this whole girl's whole point is avenging a character that was a rando in episode 2. It was very Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, you had some rando girl, she got killed, it was horrible, boo-hoo, we saved the world. But then they come back hard with this hard callback in episode 7, and with the sister and the triad thing, and like, it was great. I loved that. I loved everything about that. They were doing the Marvel thing before Marvel was doing the Marvel thing. That's kind of what I wanted to get at there.
How is it that Pris is like this awesome fighter in her suit, but every time she fights as herself, she loses? Like broken arm, broken hand.
Point of contention there. She's not a very good fighter, period. Because she's always getting her ass kicked. She is always breaking her arm. That girl wrecks everything. The fact that Celia trusts her with any hardware at all is a red flag. Because
including a motor slave.
I don't think there's an episode goes by that her hard suit isn't busted. She didn't break a bone. She didn't wreck a bike. Like every episode, she's a disaster.
Lena is arguably probably the best fighter.
I love Lena.
Oh my god, I love Lena.
Lena's best girl. I love her so much.
I was hoping for a gratuitous
Lena
scene with Lena. I was hoping, like when she took off her bra in Double Vision, I was like,
You're
come
on. Lena's great. I loved her character. She's just so interesting and full of life, and like I feel like there's a lot they could do with her. And in the sequel, in Crash, they do this. The whole first episode of Crash is like this VH1 Where Are They Now thing. Not literally, but figuratively. And Lena isn't a dancer, aerobic instructor anymore. She's now like trying to trade stocks on the stock market, and she's like trying to like better herself. And she can't help but do like insider trading because, of course, she's got all this information. She's trying to insider trade, and she's losing money. And I like her character a lot. I think she's so interesting and fun. And I wish that I'm glad I got to spend at least 2 episodes with her. I just wish maybe it would have been a bit more than that.
I felt like
in her hard suit, she's a quiet killer. That's what I said.
Yeah.
She doesn't yell a lot. She just whips those ribbons, kills people, and moves on.
Yeah, when her hard suit's on, she don't talk like at all.
She's all business.
She just shows up, slices some up with her ribbons, and knuckle bombs. Man, yeah.
That was a very interesting. I had never really saw that until Bubblegum Crisis. The knuckle bomb.
The knuckle bomber. Yeah. Man, I love that. It's so.
Look, I've thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. As interesting it is, completely impossible.
It's not a very practical weapon.
Completely impossible.
If you don't care about losing your hand, it's possible.
If it explodes, ouch. It explodes out. It's not like
It's like a claymore.
it's not
They can make chicks run in ballerina shoes. This bomb thing. It will
All right,
work.
okay. So as the engineer, you get the ballerina shoes. I get the knuckle bomb. I love it. That was cool.
the irony of which is that if anybody should have been dancing around in those big ass ballerina shoe heels, it shouldn't have been Chris, it should have been Lena. And she could have probably sold it because she's clearly a very apt dancer. Yeah, I don't know. I agree. I think she's like she's the one you bring in when you want to get it done. It's like, oh, let's send in Lena. She'll get him.
I could, like, seriously, I have so much because I really enjoyed Bubblegum Crisis.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
I love this series.
Like,
to a fault.
It was a completely different feeling rewatching this as opposed to our previous episode. We were rewatching 3x3 Eyes.
Oh man, yeah. No, okay, so we gotta really get into this now. It's the hold up episode, the does it hold up segment of our show to a modern audience, and we'll start with you, Lynette, because you were fresh to it this time. Do you feel like this series holds up? Does it hold up to a modern lens? Can you release Bubblegum Crisis today and find success?
Yeah. I think it's good. I think it's the it's like a girl power thing. You know, I grew up watching Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
But those characters are really, really girly. These ones not so girly. And I like that. So it's one of those, oh, I can really enjoy this. And like you said, the mecha, all that. It's just
yeah, they really I do. I agree. Brian, how about you, buddy? What do you think?
I gotta say, I agree, and for a different reason, actually. Based on the technology, even nowadays, there's that argument of the Jetsons. When are we going to get our flying cars? Where are we going to get? When does technology overcome humanity? And that's an argument that we have been having for the longest time.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see, and again, I can't say it's nice to see that argument still being happening in the future, because it's not in the future.
Right.
But it's nice to know that we have been having this conversation from the past. When does technology overtake our humanity?
Yeah.
And they do a really good job. Same way, and when you guys point out that this is the ode to Blade Runner, same question was being asked then.
Mm-hmm.
This just tells you they're asking that question across the board.
I agree. And before I get to you, Vic, I'll touch on this. That is one of the greatest things about this series is that it does dance that line and ask those questions about at what point is something alive? Does the sentience matter? Like these are self-thinking living beings, but they're manufactured beings. So are they alive or are they not alive? Like what constitutes being human? And they expand on this great in other things like 80 police files and stuff, where it's like, how much of you do they cut away before you're not human anymore? And it's the same thing with these boomers. Like how much more human can they possibly get before we consider them a living being? One of the things about this series is like, if you were to give this 10 more episodes and tell them that they could spend as much time with that as they could, I think that's probably where they would have leaned, because that was the overreaching plot of this whole series, right? Was what makes us human and what's our humanity amount to. So yeah, it's just, this is fun science fiction pulp, but there's weight there. There's a subject matter that's heavy but like you said, Brian, we're still having this conversation to this day, and this came out in 1991 or 89 or whenever it came out. And they were having that conversation then. And you think about the technology, the evolution of AI and everything that we're going through right now. And the fact that we could still have this conversation and have an anime like this from that long ago still be so relevant that you could drop it today and people would still be saying the same things. It's a testament to its quality. That's so.
Sure. Now, before, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Is Quincy human or is he a boomer?
It's a good question. It's a really good question. My answer to that is, why not both? It seems like every time Quincy has to do something, they send a boomer version of him to do it. right? So at any point you're watching the series, the Quincy on screen may or may not be a boomer. I don't know. I think the character's intended to be human, but they scapegoat him with boomers every time. It's in Red Eyes there was a Quincy bot that Largo killed, and then in Double Vision there's a Quincy bot 2.0 that Vision kills. Like it's always a Quincy bot. He's never like he just doesn't have to do. And isn't that sad that supervillains like Largo, clear badass, can summon the wrath of God from the sky, and he couldn't find this motherfucker to kill him. Like Quincy is a wily coyote motherfucker. He'll hide. So I don't know. He could always be a boomer. That would be an interesting plot point if the whole thing is he is a boomer. Why not? So now, Vic, I didn't give you a chance. Talk to me, man. Bubblegum Crisis. You feel like it holds up? Are you in consensus with the rest of us?
I am. It definitely holds up. The storyline is there. The music is like epitome 80s.
Yeah, man.
You know, which is rare because at the time, music in anime was noticeably different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, mech designs, the obvious ode to Blade Runner. The fact that AIC planted their logo on every single thing they could possibly think of, computers, screens,
Yes.
Sidewalk art, buildings, you name it, it had AIC on it. It's like they manufactured the whole world.
It's branding, maybe. Branding.
Oh, funny thing. Princeton and Knight Sabers hate Genome, right?
Yep.
Princeton's motorcycle?
Yep. Genome. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, it's like people that hate Microsoft but have to use a PC.
Yep.
It's just like,
For sure.
Or it's like, I hate Amazon, but I still got a Prime account. That's just how it's going to be.
But yeah, it honestly does hold up. And I mean, it's like, God, watching the first couple of episodes, you could tell the animation quality shows its age.
Yeah.
But it gets better. And it's like, you realize that these were designed to be played on 4x3 CRT TVs at the time, which were not the greatest of quality. And so, but even then, upscaled to modern resolutions, some of the intricate details, even in the earlier episodes, was there. And it's insane that they bothered putting in that kind of detail in something that, at the time, you're probably never going to see. Unless you're running it on a Laserdisc player that had, RGB output to a high-end TV at the time. Which in the US, we didn't get.
And yeah, it's if you were an anime nerd in the early 90s, most of you weren't doing that because we didn't really have them. It's like we were lucky if we found a VHS, let alone a reputable Laserdisc reseller.
Sure. So yeah, it definitely does hold up, and it's definitely a must-watch.
Yeah, and I mean, before we wrap up, we gotta talk about the music a bit. The music is so indicative of its era and its series, and it's just great stuff. It is 80s rock, right? For the most part, a couple ballads.
You know what I felt like? I think one of the best soundtracks for a movie is Rocky IV. Hearts on Fire.
Yeah.
There's No Easy Way Out. It felt like they had some great pacing in the music that they used. And this is by far the closest anime that has given it to you. And you said it when we were talking about in the anime music show that we did. It was never a repeat song.
Yeah, that's what I like too. It's like no episode. I couldn't go back to one episode and say, "Oh yeah, I heard that in episode 2 or whatever."
Yeah.
I loved it. Different music.
And in Japan, each episode got its own release. And for those that actually collect vinyl, they've actually repressing all 8 of them, which I think the first 4 or 5 only had vinyl releases, and everything since then were CD releases. So this June and July, for the first time, all 8 volumes are available on vinyl in Japan. And for the insane cost of about $350, you can have all 8 of them by August mailed to you in the US.
$350 or $3.50?
$350.
To be fair, each vinyl album or LP is selling for about $33, which that's a little expensive, but this is this is an old anime. This is a repressing. It's kind of more of a collector's kind of thing. So I get the price point on that. But yeah, they're definitely going for a specific market.
And I have all 8 pre-ordered, just to say.
It's great. So it's a testament to the anime that the music has held up this long that they can do a repressing this many years out and sell it for that price point and sell.
And the demand worldwide is up there.
Props to them. Props to the series. Props to just everybody that worked on this. They really created a piece of art that has stood the test of time.
All right. I got a question for y'all.
Yeah.
For both. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, you're about to see the Civil War happen in the show. Who would you rather take? Lin May or the song from Bubblegum Crisis?
Oh God, Brian, why would you do this to us?
I can't pick, Brian.
I literally cannot pick.
You have to.
The music in
One of them has to die.
dude, the music in Super Dimension Fortress Macross is so good. It's just it warms my heart every time I listen to it. I can't pick. It's two completely different genres, right? So it's like asking you to pick between like Pat Benatar and Celine Dion, right? It's two completely different kinds of music.
Easy. Celine, easy. I got you.
Really?
Next.
Easy?
Easy. Celine.
So I couldn't possibly. I can't possibly. Man, the music for both of those series, both of those characters, I'm in love with all those characters, man. They're just so great. I couldn't do it. I can't.
Wish for Carnage is not happening.
Look, there's only one song that I would not give Celine Dion. Only one song. And if it comes down to it, Turn Around Bright Eyes, Total Eclipse of the Heart is going to beat Celine Dion every day of the week.
Well, I mean, that's, you want to go Bonnie Tyler on me. We're not going to get into this. I'm not going to let you trick me into devolving into an 80s music sing off.
I thought I had you.
I choose none. There's no way I can pick between my girls. I love them all. The girls in Bubblegum Crisis are a bunch of bad who are softies at heart. Like when they're ragging on each other, they're like picking on Nene and in episode 8. And like I love the way that they're all such good friends. Mm-hmm. They have fun with each other.
I love that scene when she's eating the cake. She's thinking about eating the cake, and then she looked at that, and the cake was gone.
They cut away and it's gone, and she's like, "Well, couldn't be helped." It's such a great character moment. I love that, man. Bubblegum Crisis. The name makes no damn sense, but the series is just great. It's amazing, right?
You'll love it, you'll hate it.
I want that safety vest with Bubblegum Crisis written on the back. We're gonna have to. I'll have to find
There's, it's great. Like I know we got to wrap up, but man, in a time now where anime marketing is like at its peak, you can get almost any kind of product. Bubblegum Crisis missed the boat, man. There's so much great that would make fun products. And they just, man, too little, too late, guys. Sorry. All right. Well, folks, that's going to be our show for today. Vic, when trying to find you in this tinsel city, how do we feast our red eyes on your moonlight rambler?
Well, you'll find me over on Aqua City.
What the What the?
And unfortunately, Aqua City gets destroyed, so I am no longer found.
Yeah. Boomers, man.
But if you feel like talking to my Muppet, it's always, as always on Twitter, it's at Kaiju_Geek Grotto. That's at KAIJU_GEEKGRTTO.
He's just an orbital beam satellite away, folks. Now, Brian, I want you to say yes and rock me with your social media handle, Mr. Dandy.
What are you doing?
I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man. You can find me at Skips Backwards. That's SKITZZTIKS. I'm going to get smart like Vic one day and have it just ready so I can print it up so I can read it off. Skips Backwards, and that's the way you pronounce it.
And unfortunately, I regret to inform you that Lynette has uploaded her consciousness to a boomer and is now in hiding. So we'll get nothing out of her on this one. So until next time, folks, keep calm and avoid Mackie's pervy gaze.
You've just been privy to the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd, presented by Geek Grotto. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Geek Grotto. For show notes and corrections or for general geeky fun, you can visit our website at geek-grotto.com. If you would like to sponsor the show, you can do so on the podcast's Red Circle host site, redcircle.com/shows/MMMAN. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, please like, follow, and subscribe.